Steven Reineke joins me to talk all things John Williams right here in Studio Q. Welcome to the show, Steven.
Thanks, Shad. I appreciate it.
So how did you first discover the music of John Williams?
Boy, I mean, I didn't realize it was the music of John Williams, but it was in the 1970s when I saw Jaws for the first time. It was probably 1976 or could have been 75, which was the year it came out, I think. And it was crazy. My parents would take me to see a movie like that. You know, as a 5 or 6 year old kid, I was very young. And I remember being terrified by the music for Jaws. And that was, you know, in hindsight, the first time I realized the magic of John Williams.
Okay, we're going to get into that Jaws soundtrack in a little bit. But the first piece you've chosen is a classical piece of John Williams sci-fi music. We're going to play that now. That's the theme from Steven Spielberg's 1977 film Close Encounters of the Third Kind, composed by John Williams. What is it about that music that grabs you there?
That is one of my favorite John Williams film scores because it is so lush and romantic. It does have a classical music feel to it. It could be, a classical symphony, or even it has this opera romanticism to it, that it could be from, a very romantic opera, something, a great love scene is happening right there. The music we just heard, it's quite special.
And you're a pops conductor. How did listening to John Williams and film music generally make you want to pursue that career?
Well, it's so fun in the pops music world because I can work with a full symphony orchestra, like an 80-piece symphony orchestra, and play popular music. I don't have to just stick to Beethoven and Mozart and Brahms and Haydn, but we can do all styles of music, and one that we love to do is film music. And so the chance to bring these classic film scores to life with a full symphony orchestra, there's nothing quite like it. And to stand in front of that as an orchestra conductor and be able to hear that, it's so magical and so powerful.
And you said that as a youngster, you would notice the film music more than the actual film itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When I was growing up, and I thought everybody in music did this, and I had a wonderful teacher who explained to me that what I was doing was a bit of a different special talent, and it was a lesson I needed to learn. We would go see movies, and I would come home from the film and be able to play 85, 90% of the soundtrack on the piano and just recreate all of that. And like I said, I thought everybody did that. And then this gentleman explained to me that was unique, which kind of scared me a little bit, because then I thought, oh man, I don't want to be special. I don't want to have this unique talent, because then you have this responsibility to it. And what am I going to do with that? And really take care of that and hone that particular talent. But it ended up being a wonderful lesson for me to learn, and something that I did take on and really expand my craft of being able to do that. I've had to do it before. If I wanted to do a particular piece of music and I can't get my hands on the music, it's perfectly fine to listen to it if you have the ears to recreate it. So I've been able to sit down with a film score and write out what the oboes are doing, what the violas are doing, what the percussion, the trumpets, trombones. When I hear music, I see what it looks like on the page.
That's amazing. I was just about to ask, I'm so curious as to how you're able to recall that much music, and it's appearing on the sheet as you listen to it.
Visually, I see it. I see what the notes are, and yeah.
Amazing. And you've said that you think Mozart would be scoring films if he was alive today. What makes you say that?
Absolutely. Mozart wanted his music out there and played for as many people as possible. He also, I firmly believe, from everything I know about the man that was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, that he would have loved the genre of film. And I think of John Williams as our current day Mozart, just so absolutely prolific and able to get his music out to so many people.
Okay, next up is a John Williams piece that may induce a sense of panic. This is what we talked about right off the top of the show. That's, of course, the theme from Jaws. Can you break this one down for us? What's going on in this piece musically that's creating that sense of anxiety? I saw you conducting along with certain hits of horns there.
Well, it's biting. You hear how it's biting at you. It also is, that two-note motif, bum, 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 just back and forth, is so simple, but it's ominous. It's the way I always think about it, and what we didn't listen to is the very, very beginning of that piece. It starts with just this low rumble. So you can just imagine yourself out in the water. You're just, treading water, swimming, whatever, and something is out there. And then what you hear is one note, boom, and then you get two, ba-dum, ba-da-dum. And it's this sense that there's something there. And it's in a distance, and it's getting closer, and it speeds up. Dee-dum, dee-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. And that's the way he wrote it, and it really is literally like something coming right at you.
I'd imagine that'd be so fun to compose for that.
I know, and something so simple. His creative answer, what to come up with, has become one of the most iconic sounds in film music, and it's literally based on two notes.
You've met the man. You've met John Williams. What was that experience like?
Tremendous experience, because he's been one of my idols for so many years, and he's just a very kind, gracious man, very humble about all of his major accomplishments throughout his life, and he's thankful that his music is getting played as much as it is, and this guy will keep going forever. He just enjoys it.
He's already been doing it for decades, and he'll keep going. You've also worked with many people who've worked with him, who've known him. What do they tell you about him as a person?
Everybody loves him. Absolutely everybody loves him. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him from the members of the Boston Pops, of the orchestra he led for so long. But also, I lived in Los Angeles and was studying film composition. This was something I wanted to do at one point of my life. And that's the point when I met John Williams. And one of my best friends was a cello player who was John Williams' principal call cellist, meaning every film score that John was recording, he would hire my buddy to be his principal cellist. And so that was great, just to get to talk to so many musicians. And then I conducted the Long Beach Symphony out in Orange County for several years, and many of those players played on a lot of John Williams movie scores, and everybody just raves about him.
That's nice to hear about one of your heroes. You don't always get that. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, if the Jaws theme is iconic, then I don't even know how to describe this next piece here. Such an emotional piece of music for many people. Our QTV senior producer, Steve Johnson, probably has tears rolling down his cheeks right now. That's the Star Wars theme. And you've chosen the version from the latest film, Star Wars The Force Awakens. What is it about that theme that you think resonates with so many people around the world?
Well, two things here. We are actually doing the original Star Wars theme, what you just heard. We'll perform that as well. And then it's so fun to be able to present the new music from the latest film, The Force Awakens, because it's only been made available to orchestras to be able to perform this in concert settings maybe a month ago. And I was trying to dig. I don't think that any Canadian orchestras have done this entire suite yet. I think there have been a few that I've found that have done parts of it, but to my knowledge, not done the whole suite until we perform that with the Toronto Symphony this week. And the music is great because you get little snippets of famous themes you've heard before, but there's also so much new music written in this new movie, and it's just as good as the music from all the other movies.
Now, this music is, of course, iconic, but so is the film.
Yeah.
Do you think it's the films that make the film soundtracks popular, or do you think it's the music itself?
Well, this is a great mix, and that's why we're celebrating the bulk of the program is the collaboration between John Williams and Steven Spielberg. Of course, Star Wars has been done by different directors, originally George Lucas, but John has also teamed up with some of the best directors in the business, and I think it's that actual marriage that really makes it work. because they are really good films too, and the music is there to enhance an already good movie. John's music would be very good to a lesser grade film, and there have been a few by some other directors. But when the two collide perfectly, then you have something very special in cinema.
And Spielberg actually reshot E.T. to fit
He did.
John Williams' music.
Can you imagine? This is something that's
incredible.
not even, this is hardly ever heard of, but the famous scene in E.T. where Elliot, the little boy who has E.T., E.T.'s in the basket of Elliot's bike, and they're racing down the street with all his friends. And if you remember, their street is all blocked off by FBI agents and local police, and they don't know how they're going to get through this barricade. And E.T. makes all the bicycles rise up over the cars, and they go flying. Well, John had written specific music for that, and it just wasn't lining up just right with the film, the way John wanted it to. So Spielberg, the story goes, is that Spielberg said, forget it, John. Let's turn the movie off. You do the music that you wrote the way you want this to go. And they did, and it was spectacular. And Spielberg recut that entire sequence just to fit John's music.
Amazing working relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, we had our QTV team bubbling with the Star Wars theme. Now I can guarantee that our Q News producer, Mitch Pollock, will be weeping uncontrollably with this next piece of music here. Theme there from the 1993 film Jurassic Park. Now, I know you didn't pick this one, Steven, but I wanted to add this because a good friend of mine walked down the aisle to this.
No.
With, yes, with very little irony. She just thought it was beautiful music.
It's epic. I mean, it's great.
Does it surprise you the connections some people have to John Williams' music?
Yeah, it does. But that's also something powerful about what John Williams' career has been like. I mean, the music means something to people, and that's why it's so it's easy to take it out of the movie and in a concert hall setting where we don't have any big screens. We're not. Sometimes I've done that where we show clips of the movie with it, but we don't have to. The music stands for itself. But it takes people back to a time and a place, maybe the first time they saw that movie, or it just has feelings connected to people with it.
Is that the experience you're trying to create for audiences when you're taking the music outside of the film context to take them back to that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of it. I mean, everybody's going to take their own thing that they want out of this, and that's the special part. But also, when you're not watching the film and just listening to the music, it gives people a chance to really focus and concentrate on it, so they may feel something differently than they've ever felt before. But it will evoke and conjure up so many memories of a lot of people's youth, a lot of people's childhood and growing up.
Or their wedding.
Well, their wedding.
For the final cut here, we're going to go out on a classic. Yet another John Williams classic. That's the theme from Raiders of the Lost Ark. What kind of feelings does that piece of music bring out for you?
Heroicism and adventure. You hear that theme, and immediately, for me, I see Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, ready to go on another wonderful adventure.
And we've heard such a range from Jaws to the heroism here to some romantic pieces. It's incredible. John Williams is 84 now. He's been composing film scores for decades. How would you describe his influence on film music?
Oh, John Williams has been a wonderful contemporary living film composer that has really bridged the gap from the early days of film, the 1940s, 50s even, when there were a lot of European classical composers working in the field, even some great American composers. But, Stravinsky, Prokofiev, Max Steiner, Leonard Bernstein, many famous classical composers wrote for film, and John has been one of those that's classically trained that has continued on with this great tradition of using symphonic orchestral music to score and create film scores, where a lot of people, pardon me, aren't doing that anymore. So that's John's great legacy is really being the European orchestra guy.
When he eventually does retire, what kind of vacuum do you think he's going to leave behind?
Well, that's a difficult thing. I mean, he is definitely legendary, and there's not going to be another John Williams, but there are other very good film composers and people that have taken bits and pieces of what John has brought to the genre, and now they add their own element to it. So it'll be a sad day when we lose John Williams, but his legacy will go down in history forever.
And you think film music will be in safe hands?
I absolutely do.
Who are some of your favorites now?
Well, Hans Zimmer is doing great work. There are a bunch of young people doing wonderful work. Another old guard, one of my favorite composers, is Ennio Morricone. Now, he's getting up there in age as well, but finally just won his first Academy Award for the Quentin Tarantino recent movie, which was so good. There's plenty of young film composers.
Excellent. Thank you, Steven.
Thank you.